This is the box for the Z Fold 4. And this is the Z Fold 4. And this is my intro. So I was really looking forward to the Unpacked event by Samsung, where they'd be announcing the new Fold 4 and Flip 4, but I ended up being really disappointed because it really ended up being just a refinement of the Flip and Fold 3 instead of a new and improved phone. So that took away from the excitement for me, but here is the unboxing anyway. It's a very similar package, thin, very basic. Right at the top you have that folder thing with the USB-C to USB-C cable and all the typical paperwork. And then putting that away, behind that, the final thing inside this box is the phone itself. One of the few physical visual changes that you can see is the design is a little bit more boxier, a bit like the iPhone where the edges are kind of flat. Just a little bit. I like it, but other than that, there's one other pretty decent change which I'll tell you about in a minute, but removing the plastic, here's the best part. Now, in terms of the refinements I was talking about, it includes the typical refinements you'd expect from a yearly update. So there's a new improved processor, the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, which hopefully could in turn help with battery life, though the battery isn't any bigger. But we'll see how this new processor manages the battery life. I'll tell you in my review. And then on top of that, of course, new and improved cameras, with a 50 megapixel main camera, a 10 megapixel telephoto 3x zoom, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. But anyway, powering it on and setting it up. It is a very typical setup process, which gave me some time to admire and appreciate the display, but also solidified my expectation that it would be essentially an identical experience to using the Fold 3, which it was. But then again, I do have to point out that that's not a bad thing, because the Fold 3, if you watch my review, I loved it. I truly did. So this phone is still one of a kind, but if you're on the Fold 3, there's no point in upgrading to the Fold 4. Or if you're looking to buy a Fold, maybe the Fold 3 is the right choice just because of the price difference. And I can easily conclude that and say that in this video based on just a few minutes with this phone already. Now, on top of the physical changes in this phone, it did have one software change which they could have put in the Fold 3 but only decided to put in the Fold 4, and that is a dock which is always at the bottom of the phone no matter what app you've got open, so you can drag any of those apps in the bottom onto the screen and do split screen. I really like that because it makes it so much easier to use the split screen feature, which I think is essential to the function of the Fold and the idea of having such a large screen in a pocketable device. It's a selling point. Now, instead of having to manually download all the apps onto this phone and do the setup to make it good enough to use as my daily driver, I decided to transfer everything from my Z Flip 4 onto the Z Fold 4 using Samsung's SmartThings app, which is actually really efficient. It does the exact same home screen layout and downloads all the apps, everything. It's quick and it's efficient and it's great. But of course, a problem with the Z Fold 4 is the inner tablet display has a different layout to a typical phone, so I had to make some adjustments there. Now, I know a lot of you love me doing these customization setups, but the problem with the Z Fold 4 is you can't download a launcher onto the Fold, because if you're using a certain setup on the inner display, it's going to try and replicate it on the outer display, and it just doesn't work. You can't do two separate setups, so it just doesn't work. But I do have a little plan and something in store for you in a separate Fold 4 customization video. But now, let me tell you my first impressions. So we've already established that this is already very similar to the Fold 3, and so if you already have the Fold 3 and it's in good condition, there's no point in buying the Fold 4. And if you don't care about the adjustments made, you might as well save a few £100 or dollars and get the Fold 3. But they have adjusted it to a more refined version of the Fold 3 that based on what people have asked for. So firstly, in terms of the quality of the phone, what I noticed is overall the quality just feels better. It feels sturdier, it feels more expensive, and it already felt really high quality, but even nicer now. It's got that boxier, brickier build, which I like. It's a little bit flatter on the edges, like I said, but also the hinge is stronger. You can feel it when you're trying to close the phone, and that is one of the things that Samsung mentioned in the Unpacked event, is that they redesigned the hinge, and it is definitely noticeable. So a slight improvement in build quality, noticeable, but nothing major. Also, something I noticed is Samsung didn't say this, and I'm not 100% sure if it's just me and in my head, but I'll just tell you what I think. I feel like the crease is less visible. I do have to say that I haven't used the Fold 3 in a while, so I can't directly compare it. This isn't based off of a direct comparison, but from my memory, I feel like it's less noticeable, and that's a good thing. I never found the crease to be a problem before. I just feel like it's even less of an issue now. And then the other thing with the inner display is that hidden selfie camera in the top right is hidden even more. That is noticeable. Samsung did say that in their event, but I noticed it now. It does look even better. It is even harder to find, but the quality of the front-facing camera is still absolutely horrendous. And then, like I said earlier, in terms of software, you do have that dock with all the apps in your dock, plus the recent apps used, so you can quickly drag them into the screen and do some multitasking, or you can open the app drawer directly from that dock and grab any app that you want for the split screen, which I think is a very nice little software change, as it contributes to like the main selling point of the phone being that you have this big screen that you can use for multiple things at a time, and the fact that it gives you this dock allows you to do that with ease and fluidity and makes for overall a better user experience. And the final thing that I noticed is the cover display. That outer display is slightly wider, which is something I really like. It's not wider by a lot, and you kind of have to look for it to notice, but it is wider and it is better. And that was one of the things that bugged me with the old phone. I felt like the cover display was just too narrow. It is still pretty narrow, but I always used to say in the old video that it looks narrower in person than it does on video, but now that's not the case. What you see on video is kind of like what you get in person in terms of the width of the cover display. But overall, in my opinion, this is the best foldable phone right now. You're getting probably not the best value for money, because you're only losing out on a few small adjustments for a much better price if you're going to get the Fold 3. But in terms of quality, this is the best foldable, because in my opinion the Fold 3 had that slot, and now since this is slightly improved, it takes over the Fold 3's title as the best foldable, as it offers an insane amount of function, in my opinion, much more function over the Flip 4, as I really just don't like the concept of the Flip. But anyway, I'll have a much more in-depth analysis of my experience of using the Fold in the entire full review. Until then, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and give this video a like and comment for the sake of the algorithm. Check out my Instagram at El-Naggar for the behind the scenes perspective, and also updates on like the new videos coming out. For example, the customization video on the Fold 4 coming out soon, a desk setup video, office tour, all these sorts of interesting things. So keep up to date on there. Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Salam.